You already know what you should be doing. So why are you watching this video instead? Here's something strange. The people who procrastinate the most aren't always lazy. Some are doctors. Some are athletes. Some run billion-dollar companies. Some graduate at the top of their class. They all know the cost of procrastination. They all want to stop. And yet, they still do it. If procrastination is simply laziness, then why does it affect some of the hardest working people on Earth? That's the mystery. And by the end of this video, you'll realize something unsettling. Your brain isn't trying to stop you from succeeding. It's trying to protect you. The problem is, it doesn't know what century it's living in. Imagine a detective investigating a crime. The first suspect seems obvious. Laziness. Case closed. Except, the evidence doesn't fit. Think about the last time you procrastinated. Did you spend the whole day doing absolutely nothing? Probably not. Maybe you organized your desk, replied to old messages, cleaned your room, watched 3 videos explaining productivity instead of actually being productive. Your body wasn't refusing to work. It was refusing one specific task. That's a very different problem. Because if you were truly lazy, you wouldn't suddenly find the energy to deep clean your kitchen the night before an exam. You wouldn't spend 2 hours researching the perfect notebook before writing a single page. And you definitely wouldn't feel guilty the entire time. Real laziness feels comfortable. Procrastination feels exhausting. So maybe laziness isn't the criminal after all. Maybe it's just an innocent suspect. Psychologists eventually noticed something else. People don't procrastinate equally. They delay certain tasks far more than others. A student may avoid writing an essay for weeks, but happily spend hours playing football. An artist may desperately want to paint, yet somehow never begin. A businessman may negotiate million-dollar deals, but postpone making one uncomfortable phone call. Why? If the problem were effort, every difficult task should be equally hard to start. But they're not. Something else is happening behind the scenes. The breakthrough came when researchers stopped asking, "Why do people avoid work?" and started asking, "What are they actually avoiding?" The answer wasn't work. It was emotion. That sounds strange at first. After all, writing an email isn't emotional. Cleaning your garage isn't emotional. Studying chemistry isn't emotional. Or is it? Think about an unfinished assignment. It isn't just homework. It's uncertainty. What if I don't understand it? What if I fail? What if everyone else is smarter than me? Now think about making an important phone call. The call itself only takes 5 minutes. But before you dial, your brain imagines rejection, awkward silence, embarrassment, failure. Suddenly, you're not avoiding 5 minutes of work. You're avoiding 5 minutes of uncomfortable feelings. And that's a completely different battle. This explains one of the strangest facts about procrastination. People often delay the tasks that matter the most. The novel they've dreamed of writing. The business they've always wanted to start. The person they want to ask out. The career change they've been planning for years. Those dreams carry enormous emotional weight. The more something matters, the more terrifying failure becomes. Ironically, the goals closest to your heart become the easiest to postpone. But why would our brains work like this? To answer that, we have to go back thousands of years. Not because ancient humans had deadlines. They didn't. But because they had something much more important. Survival. Imagine you're one of our ancestors. You discover a dark cave you've never explored before. Inside might be food. Or it might be a bear. Charging in immediately would be brave. It would also be incredibly stupid. Your brain evolved to hesitate whenever uncertainty carried serious consequences. That hesitation wasn't weakness. It was insurance. A cautious ancestor often lived longer than an impulsive one. Over thousands of generations, evolution didn't build a brain obsessed with achievement. It built one obsessed with avoiding unnecessary danger. Today, bears are rare, but uncertainty isn't. Your brain doesn't perfectly distinguish between physical danger and psychological danger. An angry boss, a difficult exam, public speech, a first date, a job interview. They're rarely life-threatening. Yet your nervous system often reacts as though your survival is at stake. Which means procrastination isn't simply poor time management. It's ancient threat management running outdated software. But here's where things become even stranger. Procrastination actually works. At least, for a few minutes. Imagine you have a huge report due tomorrow. Just thinking about it makes your stomach tighten. So instead, you open social media. Instantly, you feel better. The anxiety drops. That relief feels rewarding. Your brain quietly takes notes. Oh, avoiding the task reduced stress. Remember that next time. Without realizing it, you've just trained your brain to procrastinate again. This is why procrastination becomes a habit. Not because avoiding work is pleasurable. Because avoiding anxiety is. The relief is temporary. But the lesson lasts. Psychologists call this negative reinforcement. Every escape strengthens the urge to escape again. Tomorrow arrives. The deadline is closer. Stress is higher. Avoidance becomes even more tempting. The cycle feeds itself. Task, anxiety, avoidance, relief, bigger anxiety. Repeat. That's why procrastination often gets worse over time instead of disappearing. Your brain believes it's protecting you, when it's actually trapping you. This also explains another mystery. Why do some people perform amazingly under pressure? Many claim, I work better at the last minute. Certainly feels true, but studies suggest something different. What's changing isn't intelligence. It's urgency. Eventually, the fear of not finishing becomes greater than the fear of starting. The emotional balance flips. Action suddenly becomes the less painful option. The deadline didn't magically improve your focus. It simply introduced a bigger threat. Your brain finally decided, working is now safer than avoiding. That's a terrible productivity strategy, but an excellent survival strategy. Your brain isn't asking, what's the smartest decision? It's asking, which option feels less dangerous right now? Once you understand that, something important changes. You stop seeing procrastination as a character flaw, because shame only adds another uncomfortable emotion. And uncomfortable emotions are exactly what fuel procrastination in the first place. Instead, the goal becomes much simpler. Reduce the emotional barrier to starting. Not by becoming more motivated. Motivation is unreliable. But by making the task feel less threatening. Professional writers often begin by promising themselves they'll write one sentence. Athletes tell themselves they'll exercise for just 5 minutes. Students commit to opening the textbook, not finishing the chapter. Why? Because the hardest part was never doing the work. It was convincing the brain that beginning wasn't dangerous. Once momentum appears, the threat fades, the brain relaxes, and continuing becomes surprisingly easy. So, why do humans procrastinate? Not because we're lazy, not because we're weak, and not because evolution made a mistake. Procrastination is an ancient defense mechanism trying to protect us from discomfort. The tragedy is that it protects us from emotions that usually disappear the moment we begin. Your brain has spent hundreds of thousands of years learning one lesson. If something feels dangerous, avoid it. The modern world asks us to learn a completely different lesson. If something feels uncomfortable, that's often the exact thing worth doing. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. The biggest obstacle between you and your goals isn't a lack of intelligence, or talent, or discipline. It's a brain that's trying so hard to keep you safe that it accidentally keeps you exactly where you are.